First of all, I want to thank the Ethical Society for putting this on. And this is not my first trip to the Ethical Society. I know I was here probably 10 or 15 years ago, spoke to a group on Thomas Jefferson because I was kind of an amateur Jefferson scholar, and definitely appreciated the group, and it's good to be back. Also want to thank the Libertarian Party, and Julie Stone's here representing them. I think she's still the county chair for St. Louis County. And she was my ride here tonight too, because my Honda is being repainted, so I needed wheels in order to get here tonight as well. I want to thank them because they extended the offer to me. And also then want to thank Ben Schultz and his group, Responsible Public Debate. Strangely enough, I was once affiliated with a kind of an ancillary group, Irresponsible Private Debate. So I thought, in all seriousness, as soon as I saw his Facebook page, I loved the title. I think I told Ben that we were at a Show Me Institute debate recently Thursday, and met my partner in crime tonight, I guess, or my adversary, not adversary, but my responsible debater on the other team, as well at that event. But I echo the comment. I mean, I've been a talk show host. I echo the comment that debate it could stand some responsibility now, and it has gotten worse even over my lifetime. I was a huge fan of the Lincoln Douglas debates. I don't know if you remember when C-SPAN put those on, but I actually crossed the river to watch the one in Alton. And the Callaway debate, it's too romantic and idealistic to think we're going to get back to Lincoln Douglas. But we could certainly get better than what we've had recently, and dueling arguments and hopefully will be a good example for that. We can set that, and I'm very proud to be part of something along those lines. And also, I should apologize. I'm kind of a last-minute substitute as well, so bear with me in that. I think not all my positions are probably Orthodox Republican tonight, and I do my best to defend that position, but I also the Libertarian position on some of this, which I'm a little bit closer to in all honesty. So I hope you're not expecting total Bush defense here from me, but I'll try and carry that ball as best I can. A few facts that I had to go and look up real quickly on what we're debating and the Bush tax cuts. This is part of the 2001 Economic Growth and Tax Relief Reconciliation Act, called EGTRA, which is due to sunset January 1st of next year, January 1st, 2011, and that's generally referred to as the Bush tax cut. Anybody know why that thing sunsets in 10 years? This was interesting. I didn't know, because it's a crazy way to do. Go ahead, yeah.
It's the only way the budget office could show any possible way for it not to be horrible for the deficit.
Yes, there was what they called a Byrd provision, the Byrd rule in the Senate, which requires that anything that's going to impact the deficit, either spending or tax cuts, that's going to have an impact beyond 10 years, could be vetoed by a single senator. Okay, so in order to get around the Byrd rule at that time, they said, well, that's easy. We'll just sunset this thing in 10 years, and then we don't have to worry about it, right? And we can do it again in 10 years and still get around the Byrd rule. So there might have been a loophole in the Byrd rule, but I thought very strange to write tax laws in that regard. It puts us in a bind, particularly on the inheritance taxes I'll get to as well. Just the facts that I found quickly, one of the things that EGTRA does is it reduces the low-end tax from 15% to 10%. It introduced a new bracket. Prior to that, the minimum tax rate was 15% on low incomes. I was also surprised that, yes, you can make $5,900 or $6,001, I guess, or even $5,999, because taxable income up to $6,000, you will be taxed at a 10% bracket up through the end of this year. And in January 1st, you will be taxed at 15% when that provision expires. Guess as to what the highest tax rate is in America right now? Yeah, go ahead.
38.
It's 35. It will be 39.6% when it expires in January 1st if nothing is done. And I'm like everybody.
Under Dwight Eisenhower.
Was it 93?
93.
Yeah. I guess they didn't. I was surprised by the 39.6. Honestly, I thought, what, 40 would have been Marxist? I mean, what's the? I'm not getting that number exactly because all the others are coming out even. More significant than that in the Bush provisions, these are labor income taxes. Like, these are incomes that most of us consider income, salaries, things like that. The capital gains tax was changed so that if you had the 5-year, which is very long-term capital gain, was reduced from 10% to 8%. Okay, that seems kind of low to me. It certainly isn't being taxed like regular income. So that was interesting. Also the estate tax, the inheritance taxes, federal. Those went through quite a dramatic shift, and they are in fact abolished. No inheritance tax whatsoever if you die in 2010. So this year, which was a good year for George Steinbrenner to pass away apparently, there will be no estate tax on anybody who dies in 2010. 2011, he comes back completely. Yeah, so if you are going to remember me in your will and you're thinking of passing away,
You think it was an accident?
do it this year. I don't think Steinbrenner, I suspect Steinbrenner had good financial management.
I think Buffett dies on New Year's Eve or something.
I'm suspicious. He's not going to die January 1st. There's that, I suspect. Okay. There's also a follow-up to it, incidentally, in 2003, which modified some of the dividends and capital gains taxes. So that's kind of the facts that were out there, and they surprised me. But what we're really debating is whether or not to increase the tax on the rich, I guess. That's what seems to be most of the controversy. So it would go up from a 35% rate now to a 39.6% rate in January 1. It doesn't seem as earth-shaking when you say it in those terms. The arguments that I hear, at least I'll say, in favor of extending it, are that like taxes should be for everyone, so tax cuts should be for everyone. And that's this kind of basic equity argument that I will hear. There's also a concern, I think, from a lot of people. There's just a basic ethical issue of envy. And it does motivate people sometimes. We've all seen it. We've all had it in our hearts from time to time. And that may be partly what's going on with the, well, let's soak the rich type mentality. I think that has people concerned as well. It conjures up class warfare type arguments, things like that. And that's the kind of rhetoric that we're hearing here. I know that some of the libertarians I've heard say that they're afraid of a risk that if you get to a situation where a majority of the society pays no taxes, so 51% pay none, then you can soak the heck out of the 49% and your society will collapse under that model, right? As well as probably not all that ethical. My position quickly is, I think tax cuts are a good thing. I think they're good across the board. I think they're good in a lot of ways, so I'll defend a tax cut for everybody that has a purple shirt on tonight, okay? I'm not necessarily, red shirt, let me retract the purple. A red shirt is what I really meant to say. But I think in general, tax cuts are a good thing. I think they do a better job of stimulating an economy, frankly, than the kind of stimulus spending that we've seen as well. And if you compare the two, we can get into some of that. I won't get into all my reasons for that, but the Kennedy tax cuts are part of that proof, as would be the Reagan tax cuts. Those were better than, I say, this recent Obamulus stimulus. I would generally, however, I'm not comfortable with a purist argument on any of this stuff. I would sacrifice tax cuts for the wealthy in order to get them for the middle class and for the poor. All right, I don't see any reason to stand in the way of it. So what's inexcusable to me, frankly, is what's going on right now. We're not talking about extending any of this. I got donkeys and elephants out there in Washington pointing the finger at each other, and they will succor who they will succor, right? The standard people who always believe one party or the other will go in and blame the other one because nothing happened. But it is inexcusable that if both parties agreed we should have had at least a middle class tax cut, then why didn't we get it? Because there should have been overwhelming support for something like that. I find that indefensible. Normally who gets blamed for that, incidentally, is the party in power, not the party out of power, right? They can bring anything to a vote they want to bring to a vote, and that did not come to a vote. I think it's a fairly solid point. I would tell you that, therefore, my position on some of this, and then I'm running short on time, I would probably long-term abolish the federal income tax under $100,000. And then we don't have to worry about it anymore. We don't have to worry about the poor and the middle class and stuff. Get them off the tax rolls. No need to even file if you make under $100,000 a year. At that point, I'm a small government guy. I want the government small. Not everybody does, but I do. I'm convinced that government's going to be smaller when Bill Gates and some of these people are paying all the freight. My guess is I'm going to have a smaller government rather than a bigger one. I'm willing to take that risk. And I'm out of time. I will thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to hearing the other side.